Take, say, Austria, where about 50% of the population are supporting a kind of a neo-Nazi party. Austria, one has some memories of Austria. Or take Germany, where a right-wing ultranationalist party is now winning, not winning, but coming in local elections ahead of Merkel's party, okay? I'm old enough to remember listening to Hitler's speeches over the radio. I didn't understand the words, but the meaning was significant. Actually, the first article I wrote was in February 1939, and it was about Barcelona. It was about the fall of Barcelona to fascist forces. And the picture at my own fear at the time, a 10-year-old, not very sophisticated, was that this evil spread of fascism over the world was unstoppable. What do we hear now in Europe? Echoes of the same thing. That's pretty serious. I'm not suggesting that we're on the verge of a return to Nazism, but it's pretty serious. Now let's go back to the United States. It's also serious, though not at this level. And I think if you look at the sources, they're pretty similar in both. There are plenty of differences, but they're somewhat similar in the United States and Europe. Part of it is simply racism. Europe, in my opinion, has always been much more racist than the United States. In Europe, homogeneous societies could suppress their fear of any contamination by a small number of different people. So as long as everybody's blonde and blue-eyed in Denmark, we're not racist. But as soon as a small percentage of others come in, it all blows up. We're seeing this all over Europe. The United States has a history of horrible racism, but nevertheless it is something of a melting pot, a familiar term. If you stand on a street corner in New York, you see every imaginable kind of person, race, class, gender, and nobody pays any attention. It's bad enough in the United States, but possibly even worse in Europe. Another factor is the neoliberal programs of the past generation, both in the United States and Europe. In Europe, it took the severe and destructive form of the austerity programs after 2008. The effect of these programs has been to cast aside large numbers of people who have, so in the United States, for example, wages for male workers are about what they were in the 1960s. Meanwhile, benefits have declined, hope for the future has declined, they see themselves ignored, suppressed, similar phenomena in Europe, and one result has been contempt for institutions, political institutions, financial institutions, almost all of them, and the collapse of centrist political parties striking in Europe, and the Trump phenomenon, and indeed the Sanders phenomenon are a more promising case, are signs of the same thing in the United States. So I think it's not hard to find the sources of these developments, which are very serious ones. We're facing imminent crises. The migrant crisis, in my opinion, is essentially a moral crisis of the West. But there could be a really huge migrant crisis as the effects of global warming increase. Of course, in the case of possible nuclear war, the other major shadow, there's no migrant crisis. Nobody's left to talk about. But no time to really go into it deeply, but I think we can see somewhat similar phenomena and roots in the United States, where it's on the front pages right now, and in Europe, where it's constant.